Your coffee is not failing you. Your body is. Or at least that's what it feels like when you're doing everything right and the fat still won't move. But the truth is colder than that. Your body doesn't burn fat just because you want it to. It burns fat when it feels safe enough to unlock it. And most morning coffee habits do the exact opposite. They tell your biology that fuel is scarce, stress is high, and every ounce of stored fat needs to stay locked inside the vault. Source. That's why this gets so personal. You wake up tired. You reach for coffee like it's a rescue rope. Maybe you splash in flavored creamer, maybe a spoon of sugar, maybe nothing at all, because you're trying to be good. And then a few hours later, you're shaky, starving, thinking about snacks, wondering why your cravings hit like a wave. It feels like a discipline problem. It isn't. It's a signal problem. Your body is reading your morning like a survival message. And once that message is wrong, fat loss gets weirdly hard. Quietly hard. The kind of hard that makes people blame themselves. Coffee by itself can absolutely flip some metabolic switches. Caffeine can raise energy expenditure and increase the release and turnover of fatty acids. In plain English, it can help move stored fuel out of storage. But that's the part almost nobody explains clearly. Mobilizing fat is not the same as burning it. Your body can unlock the vault and still decide not to spend what's inside. That decision depends on the rest of the environment. Hormones, blood sugar, hunger, stress, sleep. What you add to the cup changes that environment more than most people realize. Source. The first ingredient is cinnamon, not because it's trendy, because it helps calm the kind of metabolic chaos that makes your body cling to energy. When your blood sugar swings hard, insulin tends to stay in the conversation longer. And when insulin keeps shouting, fat burning gets pushed to the background. Cinnamon isn't a magic spell, but research has shown it can improve markers like fasting blood sugar, HbA1c, and insulin resistance in people with type 2 diabetes. Think of it like lowering the emotional volume of the morning. Less panic, fewer sharp spikes, a steadier signal that tells your system, we are not in danger right now. Sometimes 1 teaspoon of a spice matters because of the storm it prevents. Source. Then there's ginger. This one feels almost too simple. A warm spice, a sharp taste, something people treat like decoration. But ginger has a reputation for a reason. It creates heat, yes, but more importantly, it seems to influence body weight, waist measures, fasting glucose, and insulin resistance in a way that suggests your system handles fuel a little more intelligently when ginger is part of the picture. Not dramatically, not overnight, but enough to matter when used consistently. Ginger is not kicking down the vault door. It's more like turning on the furnace in a cold room, so your body stops acting like winter never ends. That subtle shift is where real fat loss usually starts. Source. But wait, because this is where most people accidentally sabotage the whole thing. They take a useful signal and bury it under dessert. Syrups, sweet creamers, a coffee that tastes like a milkshake. And the body does exactly what biology always does when a huge, fast-absorbing energy load arrives. It reacts. Blood sugar rises. Insulin comes in harder. Hunger later gets messier. The crash feels mysterious, but it isn't. Your body heard emergency fuel incoming, not steady fat-burning morning. Sounds healthy because it's still called coffee. Not exactly. Sometimes a cup that feels comforting is the same one quietly keeping the vault sealed. The third ingredient is MCT oil. This one matters because medium-chain triglycerides behave differently from the fats most people eat. They're absorbed and processed faster, and research comparing MCTs with longer-chain fats suggests they may modestly improve weight and body composition, likely through higher energy expenditure and fat oxidation. Modest is the key word. This is not cinematic because it's extreme. It's cinematic because it's strategic. Your body sees this kind of fat less like long-term storage cargo and more like quick burn fuel that can change the morning conversation. If black coffee is a knock on the vault door, MCT oil can be the signal that says, we have accessible energy. You don't need to guard everything so tightly. Just start small. Too much too fast, and your stomach will file a complaint immediately. Source. Now here's the ingredient almost nobody talks about in fat loss coffee videos because it isn't sexy enough: protein. And that's exactly why it works. A lot of people use coffee to delay eating, but what they really do is delay stability. Then hunger comes back violent. Protein changes that script. Higher protein intake increases thermogenesis and satiety, and it can reduce how much you want to eat later. That matters more than the little buzz you get from caffeine, because the real battle is not what happens in the mug. It's what happens 3 hours later when your willpower is tired and the kitchen starts calling your name. A scoop of protein in coffee doesn't just make the drink more filling. It tells your body there is no famine here. You are not under attack. You do not need to protect every calorie, like emergency gold. Source. And then comes the strangest one on this list. The one that sounds almost wrong until you understand why it works. Psyllium fiber. Yes, fiber in coffee. Not for taste, for control. Psyllium forms a gel, slows digestion, improves glycemic control, and adds satiety effect that can help reduce total intake over time. In overweight and obese adults, research has shown meaningful reductions in body weight, BMI, and waist circumference when psyllium is used consistently before meals. It is not glamorous. It thickens. It changes texture. It demands intention. But fat loss usually rewards the boring tools that calm the system, not the flashy ones that excite it. If your metabolism has been acting like a nervous guard dog, fiber is one of the clearest ways to teach it to stop barking at every meal. Source. The sixth ingredient is unsweetened cocoa, not chocolate syrup, not a mocha loaded with sugar. Real cocoa. The reason it makes this list is the flavonols. Some research suggests cocoa flavonols can improve insulin sensitivity and other cardiometabolic markers, which is important because better fuel handling usually means less metabolic drama. But this is also where honesty matters. The evidence is promising, not perfect. Some trials show benefit, others don't. And that actually makes this ingredient more useful to talk about, not less, because it forces us to say the thing the internet hates saying: no single ingredient melts fat. What cocoa can do, when unsweetened and used intelligently, is help shift the environment in a better direction while making the drink richer, darker, and more satisfying. Sometimes the best fat loss tool is the one that makes a healthier routine feel luxurious enough to repeat. Source. And this is where the story gets bigger than coffee, because your morning cup is not fighting fat in isolation. It's entering a body that may already be overwhelmed. If you slept badly, your insulin sensitivity can drop fast. Even a week of restricted sleep has been shown to impair it in healthy adults. And chronic stress pushes the same survival theme even harder, with long-term cortisol exposure linked to more abdominal fat in many people. So if you're drinking coffee on top of exhaustion, on top of stress, on top of a blood sugar roller coaster, the body doesn't hear burn. It hears brace. That changes everything. Because it means the problem was never that your metabolism was lazy. It was defensive. Source. Read that again in your own life. The 5-hour night, the anxious morning, the sugary coffee, the skipped breakfast, the long hours sitting still, the workout you force later while running on fumes, then the evening cravings that make you feel like a different person. This is not random. Your body has been reading all of it as a threat to stability. So it becomes conservative with energy, protective with fat, aggressive with hunger. The vault closes tighter. And the cruelest part is that from the outside, it just looks like you lack consistency. Most people never realize they are fighting a protection system, not a motivation issue. So what do you actually do with this? You stop trying to turn coffee into a miracle and start using it like a signal. If your biggest problem is sweet cravings and blood sugar crashes, add cinnamon first. If your biggest problem is hunger, add protein. If you want a smoother, richer cup that may also support insulin sensitivity, use unsweetened cocoa. If you do well with fats and want more sustained morning, add a small amount of MCT oil. If you want extra digestive fullness and better glycemic control, use psyllium carefully, ideally blended. If you want warmth, appetite support, and better metabolic stability, add ginger. Not all at once. That's not strategy. That's chaos in a mug. A smarter protocol is almost boring. Pick one, or 2 ingredients based on the problem you actually have. For appetite control, coffee with protein and cinnamon is hard to beat. For a more sustained, fasted morning, coffee with a small amount of MCT oil and ginger can work well. For people who spiral into snack cravings by late morning, coffee with protein, cocoa, and cinnamon can create a steadier runway. And if blood sugar control is the real issue, a fiber-supported version using psyllium may matter more than any fat-burning spice ever could. The goal is not to stack stimulation. The goal is to create safety. A body that feels safe spends energy differently. And here's the part that matters more than any ingredient list. Don't use coffee to bully your biology. Use it to support it. Drink water. Sleep longer when you can. Walk after meals. Eat real meals later instead of living on caffeine. And hope. Stop asking 1 cup to reverse a lifestyle that keeps telling your body the world is unstable. Coffee can amplify a good system. It cannot rescue a chaotic one. That's not failure. That's physiology. And once you understand that, you stop expecting magic and start getting results. Because the real transformation in this isn't the recipe. It's the reframe. You were never broken. You were reading your body like an enemy when it was acting more like a bodyguard, a stressed, overprotective, slightly paranoid bodyguard. Yes, but still a bodyguard. It locked the vault because it thought it had to. Your job is not to scream at it. Your job is to change the signals. Steadier blood sugar, better satiety, less chaos, more recovery. The moment your biology feels safe enough, fat loss stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like permission. That's why this matters more than people think. Because once you see fat loss this way, you stop chasing hacks and start building trust with your body. A little cinnamon is not just cinnamon. A scoop of protein is not just protein. Fiber is not just fiber. They are messages. Tiny, repeatable messages that say, there's enough fuel, there's enough calm, there is no emergency here. And when that message becomes consistent, the vault begins to open. So if you want your coffee to help you burn fat all day, don't ask what tastes the most extreme. Ask what makes your body feel the most secure, while still keeping energy steady and hunger under control. That's the hidden game. Not stimulation, not punishment, safety. Follow Burn Lab YT for real fat loss science.